everyone. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand, where we help CEOs and founders get on top-rated podcasts. Grab our new book, thebestpodcastbook.com, and definitely check us out because I think you would really, really like this. All right, so in today's episode, we have a very special guest speaker I love to talk to. And, one of my passionate and subjects I love to work with the most is actually health and wellness. I feel like a lot of people, have misconceptions about different things. They don't do the right exercises. They don't know how to take care of themselves, even though they think they do. And even just as a business owner, you have a business on how to help people with their wellnesses. So I like to talk to all ranges of different people. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Carol. Carol, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you, Josh. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I guess what we'll first start off with. So I know you obviously help women over 50 with weight loss, longevity, and you've been in for about 15 years. Is that right?
That's right.
Wow. All right. And I guess for people who don't know who you are, so I guess could you tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, and I guess why you started to be a coach and help women, I guess. Why was your passion for that?
Well, I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico with my husband of 38 years. And I really got into the health and wellness space as I approached my late 40s. So when I was going through perimenopause, which are those years leading up to menopause, I saw all these changes, sleep and body composition changes, just things that I really didn't like, wanted to change. And that really began my journey. And the way that I began it was to enter a bodybuilding competition, oddly enough, because I wanted to reach the next level. I was working out really hard. The results weren't showing. I'm like, okay, what am I missing here? Always wanted to do a show. Fast forward, it did one. I think I was 51 when I did my first competition.
Wow.
And really, nutrition was the key piece I was missing. And then from there, women began to ask, okay, how did you do it at your age? And I began to work with them. But as I began to work with women, I noticed that I was also missing the hormonal changes that were taking place. I really wasn't taking that into account. And as I began to educate myself, take classes, certifications, learn more, I started to work with women on making that transition smoothly because it had been a rocky road when I went through it. Didn't want any woman to have to go through that alone. And at the time I was going through that transition, nobody was talking about it. It was kind of hush hush, a lot of shame. Now we're beginning to open the conversations. Women are really getting the care they need. And so that's really where my business stemmed from. It was from my own personal experience and wanting to help women to really reach their full potential in their 50s and beyond.
Wow. And so I guess what were the challenges that you went through, like that really decided like I need to do a change for myself and I need to like really, and I think I want to help others do it. Like what was the deciding factor about that?
I think too, at the time, like I said, when I was going through all of these changes, you would go to your doctor and they didn't have answers for you. And it's not their fault. They weren't trained in They're really trained in surgery and, OBGYN, helping women deliver babies. They weren't really trained in helping women through perimenopause and menopause. So you feel a little bit like you get gaslit, maybe not intentionally, but they're telling you, oh, this is just normal. And in the meantime, you're not feeling like yourself. You're not feeling like you. And I know that I thought this can't be all there is. There has to be more. Here I am. I've raised my kids. They're starting to leave the nest. There has to be more. I really want to dig into my greater purpose. And that's really the challenge that I had was feeling, having these physical symptoms of not being able to sleep, the brain fog, the moodiness. It's more than the hot flashes. It's so much more. It's the changes you see in the mirror, the lack of energy, feeling like you just don't have the energy to do the things you wanted to do anymore. So as I began that journey, learned more and more, I was able to realize my fuller potential in my 50s, things that I didn't have time to do in my 40s or 30s, I now could pursue. And so that was really the challenge that I had was the changes to my body, the changes to how society views women as they age. And I wanted to change that societal expectation about women and age.
Interesting. And so I guess with women, like you obviously dealt with a lot of women, especially 40s, 50s, maybe even older. What do you find is like some falsities that people have of like how they should take care of themselves, what they should eat, what they shouldn't eat? Like, what do you find like the mistakes people make with that?
Well, they often think, okay, eat less and exercise more. That's what the doctor's going to tell you. And it's not that that's necessarily poor advice under certain circumstances, but it's so much more than that. It's not calories in, calories out. So that's the first mistake. The quality of food matters, the types of foods that we choose. I think that there's a misconception around what type of exercise to do. We're seeing that change. It's definitely changing in the space. Women need to be strength training. Yes, they need some cardio, but they need to be strength training because we lose muscle at an alarming rate. And when we lose muscle, it's not just about losing strength, it's about losing bone density as we go through menopause. And also the things that will keep us independent as we age. So there's this kind of misconception. I still see women running for the cardio machines and ignoring the weights in the gym. That would be number one. And then how we should be eating. I see women in their 50s starving themselves to maintain what they think is a healthy weight, when in reality, they need to eat more, not less, but more. So those are the two misconceptions that I see around food and exercise.
Interesting. And so in terms of what you do and like how do you help women like the most? Like what are the coaching points that you mostly see in helping women?
Yeah, first of all, we start with that nutrition piece, which is going to be protein. Most women are not eating enough protein. I've had a lot of women who have had lifelong issues around dieting. They've been in and out of diets their entire life. So getting them away from that scale mentality and just calories, looking at calories, counting calories. And I did it too. I mean, I was raised, at a time where you couldn't be skinny enough when I was a teenager. That was the thing, to be skinny, skinny. And I see it coming back again now. I
Yeah.
guess there's a trend on TikTok, I believe,
Yeah.
with this, be as skinny as you can. So this notion of actually eating more and being stronger, I really work with women on that because they want to count calories. They don't want to look at how much protein they're consuming. They're under consuming protein. And then, of course, the second piece would be that strength training. As we go through menopause, many people don't realize we become more insulin resistant, meaning that we can become pre-diabetic. And one of the things that we can do is to increase our muscle mass because muscle is a sponge for excess blood sugar. And we begin to have a problem with blood sugar regulation as we go through menopause. So that having that muscle is like a metabolic insurance for you. It is really going to help to prevent future chronic diseases.
Wow. And so when you deal with women, like what about them do you find that they're always penny pinching? Like is it because I know and sometimes, with meat specifically, like I have family members of mine that also, they're not very big meat eaters, but also I found that, there's always this controversy of like, oh, get ground beef or get steak or get, grass fed or like, get organic. And it's like always this controversy of like, what is actually better for you? Like, what do you find is like the actual true source of like the better meats?
You really want to look for those quality proteins. So obviously, if you can afford to buy grass-fed, grass-finished, to not have the hormones within your meats, that's going to be better. I realize not everyone. It's expensive to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
you go to some of these specialty stores and you have a tiny little bag. Walking out paying $200, for your protein sources.
Yeah.
So, but I do think that if you can buy organic, with fruits and vegetables, it can get a little tricky because yes, we're told they're organic, but let's say you have two farms in the Midwest and one's organic and one's not, and the pesticides are being sprayed and of course the wind is carrying it. I think it's almost impossible to get really organic food unless you're growing it yourself. But I do recommend for quality protein. Animal protein obviously is going to have a better amino acid profile. I do have clients who are more plant-based, but that's challenging. Yes, you can do it, but I don't think people understand. You can't just say I'm vegan or I'm plant-based. You've got to be intentional with that eating. It's a lot of work to get the right amino acid profile. And amino acids, just for the listener, that's really the building blocks of protein. So it's not just about how much protein you consume. It's about, does it have a full amino acid profile, which is what your body needs.
Right. And so you also mentioned about the exercises too. Like there's certain exercises that women do to actually get them fit or they get them more active. Like what are some of these exercises that they look like? Like what do some of these look like for when you deal with these clients?
It's really important to note the individuality of people. So, as we age, one of the things that can happen, it happened to me this year. I wound up with two surgeries in 1 year, one for my back, one for a kind of a freak accident I had where I tore my rotator cuff and bicep tendon.
Wow.
So you run into these challenges where women might have, as they age, they might have knee problems, shoulder problems, all these joint issues. Back is very common, degenerative back disease. I see a lot of that. So strength training is going to be the best thing they can do. Weight bearing exercise, some types of resistance training, preferably with weights, bands, machines, something like that. Now, as a coach, I have to consider, where are people at? I have to meet them where they're at. So obviously I can't say, go do a heavy barbell deadlift if you've got degenerative back disease. And so I see a lot of that blanket advice on social media right now, and it just bugs me. It's like, okay, you're a woman over 50, you should be doing deadlifts, you should be doing squats. I'm like, wait a minute. I can't do those things. I have, a back that's fused. So you got to meet people where they're at. You have to find safe, progressive ways for them to train step by step. What can they do? And sometimes it means, squats are off the table or deadlifts are off the table. So yes, resistance training, but meet them where they're at.
Interesting. Okay. And so now I guess we'll flip on the other side of the business side. So as you're a coach, like, a lot of people who are listening are either new coaches or people that want to get into coaching or, they want to meet a coach and they want to get their own exercises in. So like, how do you run your whole business of being a coach? And like, what does that whole process look like for people who walk in the door and they see your business and what do they go through?
As far as the coaching end of it, I've done different things. I've had assistant coaches that were under me. I've had a team. I actually scaled that back because I'm going to be 64 this year, and running a team is not what I want to do. It's just not what I want to do. So I'm a solo businesspreneur right now.
Yeah.
And I offer both group and one-on-one coaching. And then I have a membership. And so for those who are wanting to go into coaching, it's good to have multiple streams, not just one thing that you offer. Maybe start with one solid offer. I started with my one-on-one. It was all I did for a long time. I did in person for a long time. And then from there, I ran group programs and then finally the membership model. And so then this provides people a different way to work with me from the highest touch to the lowest touch, depending on what they want and depending on their budget. I think it's important to have, you don't want to have too many options, but you do want to have maybe 2 to 3 solid options for your clients.
Interesting. Okay. And so for people who want to start, a program, or let's say one of the struggles that a lot of people have is getting people to come to you for advice, or they want free stuff or whatever. What do you do with people like who come to you a lot, or how do you get people to your door? How do you get people to kind of come to you for advice and the right people for you?
Such a good question. What really made a difference for me was podcasting. So I started about almost 5 years ago, started in late 2020. And you really establish a relationship with people that way because they hear you talk, they get a sense of who you are as a person, because they're not purchasing coaching, they're purchasing you, your style, you the coach who they want to work with. I know when I wanted to work with a business coach, I didn't just run out and get any business coach. I wanted somebody who resonated with me, with my values, who I could really kind of a meeting of the minds with. And I think it's like that with any kind of coaching that you get, health, business, whatever, you got to resonate with the person. So the podcasts, you're in someone's ear or they're watching you on YouTube. They're really getting to know you. So that's a great way. And that's free content. They come into your world that way. Of course, I offer, free resources for people that they can, get onto my email list, get to know me that way. Social media is a piece of this as well. And you want to position yourself as the expert. And I find sometimes new coaches coming in are really reluctant to even see themselves as the expert.
Hmm. Interesting. And so what do you do with, like we have new people, let's say people who are listening that are new coaches, like what advice, like if you had like 4 or 5 like key things they should do first to help them build their business or establish their business better, what do you find was the most successful thing you did?
I would say start that email list. And people told me that and I kind of ignored it. So I was late to the game with that, or I had an email list, but wasn't that, invested in it because really social media could go away at any time. I'll give you an example. I had a business page on Facebook, really was successful with it, was doing lives, running ads. It was going great. Then I was hacked and hacked in
Mm,
the worst possible way. And several times, like I tried
wow.
to change passwords, go back in, really turned into a thing that lasted all summer. Ultimately, I had to delete everything off of Facebook and start all over again. So I have a very small Facebook now. But this is just an example. Anything can happen with social media. You could get taken off, you could get hacked. So having that email list that's yours that you can communicate with, same with the podcast, having a way to reach people outside of social media is so important.
Yeah. I find it's interesting too, because I know a lot of people, as they start a business, they have no idea where to go and where to start because they are just so new and they're like, their minds are like, I'm all over the place a little bit. So I think it's really good advice you kind of gave about social media, but podcasting also too is a really good way to kind of to express yourself and just mention a lot of different things that you offer. Were there any books or any like literature that you found that was very helpful in your journey in building a business like that, what you have today, like that helped a lot?
Not necessarily books. I mean, there are definitely business books, but I think I leaned more toward listening to podcasts as I was really getting started. I had, a couple of coaches that I listened to. Jill Coleman was one. I've known her for many, many years. She's big in the fitness industry and also has a program for helping women who are in the fitness industry, have been personal trainers, transition into the online world. So that was really where I started, was with Jill. And I still to this day will go back to her podcast when I need that boost and to hear things, what is going on now, what is working now. She's got her hand on the pulse because she runs the fitness business and um, training business, people in fitness business at the same time. So she's got her hand on the pulse. So that was big for me.
Wow, amazing. And so I guess where do you see like the wellness coaching business kind of going in like the next couple of years? Like obviously we have AI, we have all these tools coming out. So like what do you think? Because I know a lot of people, I know I've tried this a couple of times, they're like, oh, how do I handle this? Like, or how do I handle that? And so you have like, you have the whole list of things that from like an AI assistant, it just kind of gives it all of it, for you for free. So I guess where do you see it changing or evolving in the next 5 or so years from now?
I see AI just becoming more entrenched. People are going to be using that as a tool. They use it with their marketing, of course, to help them. So, that's how I use AI. It only works as well as the questions you ask it. So if you really want it to get your voice and to help you with, say, a post on Instagram or Facebook or to write a blog, you really got to be asking the right questions numerous times. So that's a big one. That's here now. That's not even the future, but I see that becoming more. Coaches are starting to have their own AI to use in their business for various things with their clients. Like let's say for nutrition, macronutrients, exercise, they're starting to use it that way. I am starting to see a lot, and this has been going on for a while, the Zoom fatigue. So that's been a little challenging for us coaches. If we want to do a webinar, if we want to have Q&As with clients, it's been difficult to get people to show up for these Q&As. And I get it. I got fatigued as well because everything was Zoom. You signed up for a conference, it would be 3 days on Zoom, and you just get fatigued with it. Like, no, I want to meet in person. So we have seen that people wanting to be more in person, and that is a challenge for online coaches for sure.
Nice. And then I guess what were the key successes for you that you would attract the right customer or the right people for you? Like obviously you have people around the world, I'm sure, like with your ads and your posts, and I'm sure there's probably male people who probably come to you and ask for advice. Maybe they don't go through menopause issues, but maybe they're like, oh, I want to lose some weight or whatever. So like, how do you attract the right customer for you and your business?
You have to be very specific on who you're talking to, and that's hard. I mean, even just recently, I began to change my messaging to be less over 40 and more over 50, because it really is. There's a huge difference in that 10 years and what happens and how you perceive life, how you feel about your body. It is like night and day from 40 to 50, and again from 50 to 60. So the more specific you get, the better you are, because then people will go, yeah, that's me. She's inside my head. She really understands me. Where if you speak generally, it's just lost. It's just not there. So that's very, very important. Again, going back to that podcasting, that's where that can be helpful to get your message out. And just like I said, be as specific as you can. I did write a book, which actually got quite a bit of traction, Finding Purpose in the Pause. And a lot of men read the book. It's about the transition through menopause. One even wrote me and said it saved his marriage because
oh, wow.
He did not understand why his wife was feeling the way she was feeling.
Interesting. I mean, it's probably a good book for any guy, I'm sure, because I'm about to get married on Saturday. Maybe I should get the book.
That's way in your future, though. Yeah, don't worry about it now.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And so, okay, fine. So, in terms of your coaching and like how you help people, like, what do you find with people? Like, what are the hardest challenges that you came across? Like, I'm sure you've come across people who, have some underlying issues like diabetic, or have some underlying issues bodily wise. Like, how do you also deal with that? Like, did they go through the same procedures and the same nutritional diets as like, who are diabetic or who are, have blood clots or other stuff like that? Like, is there a particular program for that, or is it just the same that people take usually?
Well, I have to be careful to stay within my scope of practice, of course. So I always refer out to doctors and for labs. And then whatever their medical practitioner comes back with, I will work with. I'm certified as a functional medicine health coach. And one of the things that we do is work with functional medicine doctors. So we do the things they do not have time for, like the nutrition, like the exercise, and then the lifestyle piece, like sleep, stress, water, sunshine, all movement, all of these things, the toxins, how to reduce our toxic load. And then there's bio-individuality. So you really have to look at everyone as an individual. What types of medical conditions do they have coming into your program? Because like for instance, okay, yes, higher protein for most women over 50 is going to be really what we focus on. But let's say they have kidney issues and you need to bring that protein ratio down. So you always have to look at what's going on with the labs. I love to get labs from a client, and that way I know where I'm starting. What are their hormone levels? What is their fasting insulin? What is their blood sugar levels? And that will help me as well. Other challenges I get are mindset issues. They're limiting self-beliefs that stand in the way, because you can hand them the perfect nutrition and exercise plan, but if they don't implement it, nothing's going to happen. And you'd be surprised at how often that happens.
Right. So the mindset has everything to do with these programs and also, the exercises and everything like that, right?
It sure does, because people they tell themselves things. I don't have enough time, or this won't work for me. Sometimes there's, not to go too deep in the woods, but if somebody has past trauma, it will interfere oftentimes with this process as well, where they have some mindset blocks, some limiting self-beliefs. So that's always, there's so much to this. It's not just a matter of, calories in, calories out, and here's your cardio, and that's it. So much to it.
Interesting. Yeah, I always think that's what some people, especially who are listening, they're all busy CEOs and founders. They're like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to make my own meals. And it's like, it's a little too hard for me. I definitely find that it's definitely a mindset thing. I think first, some people have to start with a mindset, because a lot of them just, you can do it. You can agree to something, but never have the mindset to actually change it.
Absolutely. When I made my changes, I wanted it so much. I knew what I wanted. I knew where I was going. I had a vision. I was willing for things to be hard in the beginning. I was willing for them to be inconvenient. I was willing to do what I needed to do. So there really is, you got to wrap your mind around it. And it's not that it's difficult, but changing can be difficult. Our brains don't like it. Our brains push back on change. And so sometimes we have to lean into that and really start to go outside our comfort zone.
Interesting. All right, cool. Well, I'd love to also get from you too, because I know you probably have a lot of good stories. I'd love to hear some successes that you've had from your coaching, and like people you've helped. I'd love to hear some stories, like one or two of them that would, that was really impactful for you. That was like, wow, that was like amazing. Like, I can't believe we just helped this person.
Boy, so many come to mind. And sometimes it's a weight loss story, and that's the ones that people are accustomed to seeing in the fitness industry. And that's wonderful. It's wonderful to see someone's weight loss journey. And I have several of those women who've lost, 40, 50, 60 pounds. But there's the journey of their confidence. And that's the one I love the most. So I'm thinking of a woman I worked with recently where she didn't have a lot of weight to lose, really, if at all. It was really a body composition thing where she had very low muscle and high body fat. And with menopause, all of that was, of course, settling around the midsection, which happens to us women. And as her body composition began to change, as she got strong, and she had never lifted weights in her life, she felt, and I don't like the word empowered, but I'll use it here for lack of a better word. She felt really empowered. She was like, wow, I can do all of these things I couldn't do before. She works with horses, and she's like, I have all this stamina to go out. I think she said she had like 100 horses to go out and work with these horses, and
Wow.
confidence to wear a bathing suit. And that's what I love. I think I love the mindset shift and the feeling of women saying, wow, I can lift my suitcase by myself overhead into the bin when I travel. I can pick up my grandkids or my kids. I have this, I have this strength now I didn't have before. And then it transfers over to other areas of their life. And this happened to me when I did my first bodybuilding show. It scared the heck out of me. But that experience, it was like, what's next? And I began to do a bunch of other things that had nothing to do with fitness that scared me, because I had done this thing that was hard. And so those are the transformations that speak to me the most.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I really appreciate the time you've given us just to really find out all of these questions about, coaching and health and fitness. And I think just also helping women in general. I think it's a really powerful thing, because, people need women, and we all need, all people have different, things going on with the body. So I think it's such an important value tool to have you to also go over like what are these issues are, and like somehow what can we do to help everyone like that. So I really appreciate the time you've given us just to really ask a lot of these really simple questions on like how we can help people, how you've helped them. And I think that's amazing that what you've done.
Oh, thank you, Josh. It's been such a pleasure to be here. This is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart.
Right, exactly. So I guess for people who want to reach out to you and want to get to know you better, they want to maybe do a program with you, where can people reach out to you that they can kind of get in touch with you?
The best place is my website, which is very simple, carolcovino.com. It shows my programs. You can contact me via the website. Email is carol@carolcovino.com.
Awesome. And then also, I know you have a free gift. I think you also has said as well, right?
Yes, it's a let's see if I can get this out right. No cooked cookbook. So
No cook.
basically, it's a way to put together some healthy meals, high protein meals women can do without needing to cook. It's great for the summer, the warm months, or even just, if you're a busy executive and you don't have a lot of time. I have that as well, and we'll get that link to you for the show notes.
Awesome. Well, really appreciate the time you've given us. And I loved asking all these questions with you. And I thank, of course, everyone for joining the show and listening to this. If you guys, again, like this stuff, please like and subscribe to this. This helps the channel. And if you guys want to check out Carol is an amazing person. She can definitely help you with all your needs and any questions you have for her. So, Carol, it was definitely an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, Josh. It was my pleasure.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll have a good one.